Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel that I still call Work in Progress. Now today is a very interesting day in terms of me recording this YouTube video. I had already often, most of the time I decide what I'm going to talk about. I have no idea how it's going to come out. I just kind of let it flow. But I usually have at least an idea of the subject matter. So what's so interesting today is here we are in Northern California with these horrendous storms. And it appears that now every time we have this storm, so we're in the Bay Area, the power goes out. Of course, along with that, the internet goes out. Now today we knew that there's going to be a storm. However, they took the wind warning off, and because last time we had this storm, which was about, I don't know, a week ago or something, we had the high wind warnings and we lost power for about 9 hours. So in my mind today, I decided that we would we'd be fine. We'll have our power because we don't have the wind warning, although it was a bit windy outside. And when I looked on the weather report or weather forecast, it talked about it's windy. Duh, we can see that. So I was setting up my, in my little recording studio, which is actually my bedroom. I was getting things set up to start this recording. And just about maybe a moment before I was going to record, I hear this kind of bump sound and the power goes out. Flickers back on for just a second and then it goes back out. Now here's the interesting part. What I'm going to talk about today, and I'll still go ahead and talk about it. I can record without having power. I just can't upload, right? So, so the recording can happen. Anyway, just so as I said, the power goes out and I go, I can't believe this. But what's really interesting is that what I wanted to talk about today, the subject was, we're never upset for the reason we think. That's a lesson from the Course in Miracles. Why is that so funny? Kind of funny, not so funny for me, is because I am upset. I'm upset that I don't have power on today, and I'm beginning to think that this is some kind of a setup, you know, by the power company. Like, what? How could we keep losing power? We've lost power most often in the last year than ever before. Now that's my rant, okay? So let me continue on about we're never upset for the reason we think. Like I said, it's this lesson in the Course of Miracles. And it's kind of on the heels of the last video that I just did, where I talked about, you know, we're the observer of our life that goes on. In other words, we're the spirit self is the observer, and we're watching the movie. And so a part of that conversation, which was going to be today, which will be today, assuming that I can, that this recording doesn't disappear because I can't get it to iCloud right now, is that there's all kinds of ways of looking at this situation. So what does it mean we're never upset for the reason we think? Well, most of the times when we get upset, I'd have to guess all the time, really, it's because something on in the external world, outside of ourselves, triggered something inside of us. Now, we're not aware of that most of the time. We think that somebody said something, did something, something unfair happened, we get a fine for a reason, or, I mean, you know, the IRS is going to audit us, all those things that can be very upsetting. And we think it's happening because it's out there, you know, it seems like it, doesn't it? Like, you know, or somebody steals something from you, or somebody says something to you that's very rude or very criticizing something within you. There's a whole bunch of reasons that we can get upset, right? And we do. I just heard a guy who actually is a teacher saying that he's on a rant, and he was talking about how he always gets blamed for things he's never done, that this has been a pattern. Now he's looking outside of himself. Okay, he's a teacher, but anyway. So that would be another idea, that he has. I always get what he's saying is he always gets blamed for things he's never done, and other people don't own it, something like that. Well, here's the deal, and I learned this more times than I wish, and the hard way oftentimes, but I know it, I understand it. The only way that we can get upset is because we have something inside of us that's a wound, and it gets triggered. It gets triggered by a particular situation externally. And then we go into the anger or the emotion or the feeling or being a victim or all the things that can trigger this. And we're lost in this outer world trauma and drama. But the truth is, the reality is, all that it's doing is triggering something within us. An old wound, an old belief, some conditioning. Culturally, it could happen, how 1,000 ways. Well, I don't know if it's really 1,000 ways, probably not, but hey, maybe. So we get triggered, and then we can get lost in the outer world. However, when we can become aware and know that any time I get upset, this is for me, that it can't be anything except what is being triggered. And this is where I think our guides are so amazing, because they'll set up the universe to have these triggers to try to get us to recognize that we're being triggered by something that's inside of us rather than what's happening outside of us. And so this is a very, very challenging lesson, and one that the Course in Miracles really spends some time on. And rightfully so, because it's not the easiest lesson to get. We really have to own our shit, basically, when we get into this lesson. But on the other hand, when we can really recognize that, then it takes the sting, you could say, out of what we think we're upset about. So here I am talking about this. I'm looking outside my window, and I'm seeing all this pouring rain, and now the wind, and now I'm wondering, okay, how long are we going to be without power? Like I said, last time was 9 hours. Yeah, very, very weird. And I have to know that this is triggering something inside of me. Now, what it's triggering inside of me, I actually know part of it. There's a part of me that's very task-oriented, you could say, or when I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, right? And so when I'm ready to record, I'm going to be ready to record regardless of anything. So I don't like the interruptions or the inconvenience that goes on when I can't do what I have planned to do. Now, if I go deeper into that, I have to kind of dig in to say, all right, in this particular situation that I'm not upset about, I'm never upset for the reason I think, is in growing up, in my childhood, with my mother particularly, any time that she had an interruption in her particular schedule, whatever that was, she didn't work, she was a stay-at-home mom, but she was very rigid in her way of being. For instance, her for eating for dinner, she had on Monday you had this maybe a hamburgers. On Monday you had steak, or Tuesday you had hamburgers, Wednesday you had meatloaf, Thursday you had a fish, and I don't know, like that. So Monday through, or maybe it's Sunday through Sunday, it was all planned. There was no moving outside of that unless we were going to go out to dinner, which we did at times on the weekends, on a weekend. So then that night we were at a restaurant, right? So we could have whatever, something different than what was on her list. but it was a very strong message that you shouldn't be inconvenienced. You can't be inconvenienced. You need to have control over your environment, or else things won't be good, or else maybe you're unsafe, maybe it's not acceptable, all of that. So I probably need to dig deeper to get to, probably there's another layer under this, but I know that part is there. So I grew up believing that you should not have to be inconvenienced, particularly when you have a plan in place, and more importantly, when that plan has a purpose, like I'm going to record today, right? So I could have recorded earlier in the morning, and then, well, I wouldn't have had this situation. But I was pretty sure that the universe was going to listen to me and not take away my power, literally, my power to control what's going on. Sorry, I'm not even looking in the camera because I'm looking at the weather. So I'm going to keep this short because otherwise I think I'm going to go on a rant, and I'm going to pick up this idea as soon as we get power back on, which will probably be tomorrow. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. Well, it's too late. It's already in the past, right? Ha ha. Anyway, I'll pick this up when I can, but it's a food for thought right now. Let's just call it that. Food for thought for you guys to think about. Every time you get upset, it's not for the reason you think. Meaning, we have to always go within. It's always within. There is no out there. There just isn't. It's from within that we learn who we are and why we have a particular pattern in our life, why we react to certain things. And we all react to different things, so that makes sense because it depends on, our whole childhood, the programming, the conditioning, and all of that. Forget who said this, but it's been said more than several times, that by the time a child is 7, they've already been pretty well programmed into certain beliefs and certain like programming and certain ways of behaving, and it comes down to the beliefs, really. It comes down to what's right, what's wrong, the beliefs, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. So by the time a kid is 7 or 8, I believe it is, then we already have all this in us and ready just to be triggered as we become adults, right? Or maybe through our teens, I don't know. But regardless, that's how it works. So it is quite an interesting journey, I will tell you, to start to really look within. And it's one thing that I'm going to be working on when I end this video, as to how many times I do feel upset about my plan being interrupted or disrupted, or or I just can't do what I'm supposed to. Did you hear that? I'm supposed to be doing this. It's all about control. I'm seeing that. But it's definitely a program that's a strong one in me. And the truth is, most of the time we have power. It's only these unusual times that we don't. But I'm hooked into this once in a while times, which feels this winter like it's been more than once in a while, of thinking that I shouldn't have this interruption. But most days through the year, we have power. Most days through the year, we have internet. It's just been in the more recent times that it's been quite challenging, I could say, because it's happening more and more often because supposedly of this kind of weather that we're having in Northern California, which in one winter has completely gotten rid of drought concerns. We are no longer in a drought, which we've been in for years. In fact, we're over what we need. So that gives you an idea of how much rain we've had. Why am I explaining that? I have no idea, okay? Because it really doesn't matter at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. Now, if I don't sound completely crazy or none of this makes sense, or maybe some of it does, I'd like to just say what I normally say at the beginning of my videos is that I'm really wanting to get in conversation with people just like you and me. So I'm looking for people that have stories in their lifetime, or this could be even around, what they've learned, like this idea of you're never upset for the reason you think. It could be a whole bunch of subjects, but I'm really wanting it to be just with everyday people, people that are not teachers. I'm not a teacher. People that are not involved in some type of a program of positive thinking or whatever. Just people trying to live their everyday life, taking your kids to school, maybe working your job if you work, basic stuff, because I think that's what's so needed right now, for others to hear, because it's that group, this group, that is really out there trying to navigate through this kind of more than unusual time that I believe we've been in. So anyway, if this inspires you at all, when this video gets up, there will be a contact information below the video. So just contact me and let's see where we can go with having this conversation. Okie dokie. Between now and then, do take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself as well as others. That's something I'm always working on. It's easier to be kind to others, it feels like, than myself. So that's why I say it each and every time. But until next time, and hopefully that won't be too long without power, because can't do anything without power in terms of uploading videos, right? So anyway, not too long in the future, this video will be up there, and then I'll have other videos as well. So like I said, in the meantime, be kind and take care of yourself. And hey, maybe just today, I always have this clicker that I talk about and I can't seem to click off in one click. Maybe today the universe will at least grant me that gift and let me just click off, and it'll click off. Let's see what happens. Nope. You know what? I can't see what it's doing because now it got dark. I can get my glasses on. Okay, so I still have to click off.